Ladies and gents, hello and welcome to ROG Pulse, the weekly show where we dive into all things tech and gaming. My name is Jake Kalinsky, and we've got Whitson Gordon joining me per usual. What's good, Whitson?
Not much. It's really, really windy here. I hope you can't hear it because it sounds like a tornado outside. Like I don't know.
It's actually windy here too. What's going on? We're on the opposite sides of the country. That doesn't.
I don't know.
It's impossible.
It doesn't bode well.
Wind
it might
only
be like
exists in one place.
This might be like a biblical plague kind of situation. You might want to watch out.
Can't be that bad. But yeah,
man,
guys,
how you doing?
Good. I'm doing good. Yeah, I just opened up my Brandon Sanderson Kickstarter box. We're just kind of talking about that. Super excited.
Yeah.
Love me my nerd books. Good old fantasy author. If you guys have never heard of him, but we are.
If you haven't heard of Brandon Sanderson and you read fantasy books,
well, then you're
out
messing
of the
up.
loop.
You're messing up.
Yeah,
that's what's happening. Like Mistborn,
Mistborn
Stormlight
is the best fantasy book I've ever read.
I need to reread it because
it's so fun.
I read that first, and then I've read like literally everything else he's written since, like everything else. So I don't really remember Mistborn that much, and it doesn't stand out to me the way that Stormlight does. Stormlight to me is like just so imaginative.
I'm probably exaggerating a little bit. Mistborn is just really fun.
Dude, a lot of people say the same thing about Mistborn. So I'm like, all right, I need to go back and reread it. And I usually like books I really like. When I really like a book, I usually read them twice.
Are you a fast reader?
I'm an audiobook reader, so no.
Okay. I'm a slow ass reader. So it takes me like forever to finish a book, and then I like never go back and read it again because it'll take me forever to like I can't.
I don't have the attention span to sit there and read a book. I need to listen to an audiobook when I'm doing chores. So I'm washing the dishes, mowing the lawn,
what my wife does.
Like that kind of stuff. Working out, I'll listen to audiobooks. And that's really my thing. But if I'm on an airplane not doing something else, my ADHD can't even focus on the book. Like I need to be doing something. So that's my brain.
Yeah, I'm generally the same when it comes to like audiobooks and podcasts. I got to be doing something else. I can't just sit and listen to them.
Yeah, same. Controllers. They came. The Raikiri.
Oh, yeah.
So we're going to be gaming with the Raikiri. I forget
next
which
week?
one. Yeah, next week. Yeah, we'll be showing off the Raikiri.
The Raikiri, the wired one that doesn't have the OLED screen.
Yeah. Okay. We'll be gaming with that next week. So look forward to that, everyone. But today, our main topic is talking about Mini LED versus OLED and the benefits in a gaming setting. Battle Royale. But before we get to that, we are going to dive into just some of the weekly news. We do have some exciting stuff. And generally, I think the beginning of the year, there's a lot of game launches happening. Not a lot of game news happening. Usually, that can change.
But we had a Microsoft Developer Direct this week. Before we get to that, though, guys, sales still going on at gamesplanet.com. I just dropped the link in chat. Go check it out. Lunar sales are still happening if you want some cheap games. They're happening everywhere.
us.gamesplanet.com. I assume the UK version.
Well, I just put gamesplanet.com because it depends on what country.
I think that probably will link you to the right region. Yeah.
So and you can buy games on from other regions on Games Planet as long as they activate in your country. There will be a little thing that says activate right in your country. Yep. So like a lot of times, like when we give away Games Planet keys, you have to redeem them on US, but you can still activate them in your country. Or like on the ROG Elite thing, if you guys ROG Elite points, really cool. If you haven't signed up for that, go check it out. ROG Elite. When you buy products and you register them, you can complete other tasks and get points and redeem them for game keys. Sometimes like those are from like the UK Games Planet site.
I know our Elite Rewards program has been getting overhauled, so it may not be back up yet. It was down for a while.
It is up. It is
back up. Okay.
That was a while ago that it was getting overhauled. It should be back up.
Okay.
So yeah, there's still some stuff we want to add to it. We used to have a thing where you would get points for watching the stream every week. That's not currently active.
It might come back.
But I would like to bring that back.
Yeah,
so
me too.
I got to talk to some people about that. But
would be
Microsoft's
sweet.
Developer Direct. Okay, what is with your shirt and the emoji in chat?
Well played.
People have an emoji that is a speech bubble that says "well played."
Yeah, well played.
What's it from?
Hearthstone.
Okay, I was like, oh wait, how is this happening? Like, you have the shirt and people are putting the emoji in chat at the same time.
Well played.
Like a meme I don't get. Okay, cool. Anyway, Microsoft Developer Direct.
This is like just my I think my favorite gaming shirt in the world, just because it's positive.
It's pretty good.
It's neutral, right? And it also has
and it can be sarcastic.
Yeah, true.
I meant to tell you before we started, Jake, that if you wanted to pull up a window where we can show off some of these trailers while we talk about them, we can.
Give me a moment.
I forgot to tell you. So,
yeah, it's okay. We have the technology.
We had while you're doing that, I can mention one of our pieces of news is that we have 2 new games that are getting DLSS 3 soon: Hitman 3 and Midnight Suns, which is cool. Hitman 3 in particular is cool because if Hitman 3 gets DLSS 3, that means technically Hitman 1 and 2 also get it, because you can play Hitman 1 and 2 missions in Hitman 3. If you own those games, you can play them in the new engine. And this is exactly the kind of thing that makes that awesome. Good going, Hitman devs. That's just such a cool feature. Hi from France. Can you test the X16, the Flow X16 laptop? Yes, we can. We're going to be showing off all of our new laptops on stream very soon. We're still waiting for our units to come in. But once Jake gets the final units, he will be doing lots of gameplay on stream here every week with those new machines.
Can't wait.
So please stay tuned. What?
I can't wait.
Oh yeah,
I want those laptops.
I'm like really, really excited to test some of these out.
More in other news, HDR in my life.
I know, right? In other news, the day before, which is one of the most wishlisted games on Steam right now, they just announced that they have an 8-month delay due to a trademark dispute. This was supposed to come out in March, I think. Is that right, Jake?
Yeah. So it's
going to be like October or something now.
I encourage some people to look up some videos in the day before. There's some weird stuff going on. That's all I'll say. I hope the best for the game, but I'm not even the least bit surprised about this delay. It's a weird reason to say your delay is happening for 8 months. And
there is a trademark issue.
There is.
That is a thing that's happening, but
that's a long time. How did they just discover this late in the game?
I also wouldn't be surprised if they need some more development time. That's so common these days. I'm not surprised by any delay at this point.
We've seen very little gameplay, so I hope we see more. But that being said, the concept and what the game has is incredibly exciting. It's the number 2 most wishlisted game on Steam. It was number 1 for a while. Hogwarts Legacy has passed it. So it's which is only weeks away, and the final preview of that game just dropped. And it's coming out in like February 10th, and it looks awesome. We're gonna be streaming that and giving away keys for it real soon.
Yes.
So look forward to that, because that's gonna be great. That's really going to be.
Jub77 says the Dead Space remake is getting good reviews too. Yeah,
9 out of 10 is what I was hearing. Yeah, I'll hopefully be streaming that next week. But we can look at Minecraft Legends to start out.
Yeah,
one of our.
So this is cool. It's like a multiplayer action strategy spin-off, like set in the Minecraft universe, and it has both a narrative co-op mode and PvP, which is pretty cool. I've never been a big Minecraft guy, not because I don't like it, but just because I've never really played a lot of it. Mm-hmm. But it's cool to see that. I mean, Minecraft is one of those games where like you could dump hundreds and hundreds of hours into it and like never be bored. But it's also cool to see them branching out.
Yeah,
But if ever a game didn't need to branch out, it's Minecraft. But they are, and that's cool.
They're doing more with the IP. I think it's cool. It's got this.
How can you not? It's one of like the most successful video game ever.
Yeah, and it looks cool.
Yeah, very cool. So Microsoft showed off a trailer of that during their developer direct. A bit more in my camp. We also got a deeper look at the new Forza Motorsport. So I've only played Forza Horizon. I've never played a Forza Motorsport game, but just from a technical perspective, this game looks marvelous. Like it's got crazy ray tracing. It's got this like dynamic system for clouds and damage on the car and dirt on the cars the dirt is more likely to get stuck in like little crevices and stuff. So the way that your car gets dirty over the course of the race is much more based on like the physics of how you're driving. The sound is natively mixed for Dolby Atmos. Go watch this video on YouTube, you guys, the deep dive they did. This is one of the most technically exciting games coming out right now. I'm so psyched. I don't even know if I'm going to be any good at it. My understanding is that Motorsport is a much more it's a more difficult game than Horizon. It's more like simulation-y.
More realistic, yeah.
Yeah, so it may have a bit of a learning curve, but I've gotten pretty good at Horizon, so maybe I just need to go through that learning curve a second time now. but I'm gonna play this just to
it looks insane
ogle at the world. It looks so insane. And this is all like they built this to do all this stuff on Series X. Just imagine how this is gonna look on a kick-ass PC. I cannot wait. Like, oh my gosh. Like this just looks real.
It's going to be fun on the PG42UQ. That's all I'm going to say. And these are all on Game Pass, so this is pretty exciting stuff.
Yeah. This is going to be a Game Pass day one. I mean, yeah, all the stuff that we're talking about today is basically Game Pass day one, because it's all Microsoft stuff.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, I would assume that. They also announced a new game that's actually available right now on Game Pass called HiFi Rush, which this kind of came out of nowhere, I think, right? Like I hadn't heard about this before. No. It's a rhythm game, but it's like a rhythm 3D hack and slash
rhythm beat 'em up
game.
Yeah.
So it's kind of like like Metal Hellsinger or Tales of the Crypt of the Necrodancer or stuff like that, where it's like music based and you're supposed to be like fighting with the beat of the music, and the music you'll get more layers of the music as your score goes up. But man, it just looks cool. I love this art style. Kind of reminds me of like Jet Set Radio almost, with like the cell shaded. Like
that's exactly what I thought of.
Right? Okay, cool. We're on the same page. Dreamcast boys.
Best console ever made.
True story. Yeah, this is just I'm into this, and it's available now. Like I kind of want to go play it, so I might do just that. Like it's not like Trombone Champ. There is no game like Trombone Champ. Okay, Trombone Champ is a league of its own.
Yeah, I started downloading custom songs, and Trombone Champ. Most things played with just a trombone sound kind of silly and stupid, and they have Sephiroth's theme from Final Fantasy VII, and it's hilarious on Trombone Champ. It is the funniest thing in the world. Okay, Redfall. This is probably the game that I'm the most excited for from this whole direct. Same. Because you're a big fan of Arcane as it is, and I've only ever played Deathloop. So I don't have a lot of exposure to this developer myself, but conceptually this is co-op, story-driven shooter, co-op being optional, where it's supposed to be this island in Massachusetts called Redfall, and basically it's vampires, right? And vampires, you can portray them in a lot of different fun ways, and they're definitely taking the magical fantasy different style vampires thing, and it's also class-based for the characters you play. So you pick your character, you pick your class. And I don't know if they've actually really said too much of how like the progression works, like what the replayability is going to be like, but it looks really fun.
It does. And like, so for those who don't know, this is Arcane's games are kind of in their own little genre that people usually call immersive sims. And it's this kind of like, you're given an objective and you kind of figure it out however you want. Like it's not just that you can do it stealthily or guns blazing, or like that there are these few like kind of predetermined paths you can choose. It's like run on the roof and find some weird entrance into the thing, or like do something way off course from what the mission is giving you, and the game will have taken that into account, and like it will play out in a way you never expected that the developers would have even thought of. They've thought of anything you can destroy or veer off course. Like it's just brilliant. Dishonored 1 and 2 are two of my favorite games. Deathloop was awesome. I've not played Prey, which is like their other really big one, but yeah, Jub77 says Arcane is my favorite developer. Yep. I mean, I don't know if any of those are like my favorite game of all time, but Arcane is definitely one of, if not my favorite developers. Like they have not had a dud as far as I know. So I have a lot of hope for this. And it's interesting because this is the first time not the first time they've had multiplayer. There was a little bit of multiplayer in Deathloop, but not like this. Like multiplayer co-op in like a Dishonored or Deathloop style of game. That is really exciting and also really interesting. I'm not sure how they're going to handle it, because so much of those games is like going off on your own and figuring out weird ways to do stuff, that it seems like it might be a little bit different with a bunch of people.
It'll be curious to see how that works, because when you play a game like Back 4 Blood, for example, you're kind of shackled to your teammates, right? You can't progress
you're supposed
to the next
to stay
section.
Together.
Like you're really stuck to each other, and that's probably how this will work. But who knows? Maybe they found a different way to do it.
I could totally see this being like, all right, let's split up. You guys go achieve like this half of the objective. I'll do this over here. And like, somehow it'll come together. Like there are a lot of ways that this could go because again, it's Arcane. They have thought of everything that you could think of, right? When they're putting this together. So I think it would be weird if they just funneled you together. That's not the Arcane way, but
yeah,
it is a different type of game for them. So we'll see.
I'm digging the theme here though. Just like the whole vampires, blood, magic, spooky Massachusetts is the theme, which I'm from New England. I love that.
This is actually Jake's house. Jake's house is haunted in exactly this way.
I've been to some pretty spooky places. Yeah, but no,
I'm psyched about this.
This is actually
probably one of my most anticipated games of the year.
Yeah, after watching this trailer, I actually was like, it looks fine. In the previous we saw of the game, I thought it looked, fine, but I wasn't super pumped. I saw this trailer, and this is kind of like their big 10-minute preview. I'm like, oh my God, this game is going to be sick. And it's coming out in May. It'll be on Xbox Game Pass. It's already listed on Xbox Game Pass. And you can expect lots of co-op streams on this channel.
Oh, yeah, for sure. Yeah, Arcane's games are not something you can just show off in a trailer. Like a trailer can't do a game like that justice.
Right.
The same way it can't do a game, like Starfield or Skyrim. Like you can't just show that off in a trailer and like have people understand what the vibe of that game is. This is going to be awesome. Speaking of Elder Scrolls games, by the way, the last thing they announced, a new expansion for Elder Scrolls Online called Elder Scrolls Online Necrom Shadow over Morrowind. That's right, 2 subtitles, one bigger than the other. New Arcanist class, return to Varfendel. Yeah, if you're an Elder Scrolls Online person, this will be cool. I have not played since the original beta. I'm not a huge MMO guy, but I do love the Elder Scrolls.
When it first dropped, the game was so janky, but it's rebounded. It's been doing well. The fact that the game has survived probably like a decade now speaks for itself.
Man, it has been that long, hasn't it?
Dude,
it doesn't feel like it was that long ago.
Time is weird. Yeah, I think it's been a good number of years since Elder Scrolls Online came out, and it's been holding on to its player base.
This is just like the conversation we were having off camera. We were like, Dead Space, the original Dead Space wasn't that long ago. And then we looked it up. We were like, oh my God, we're so old.
Yeah, Dead Space 3 is a decade old.
Dead Space 3 was
yeah. Like that's.
And then we were debating what era constitutes retro.
Yeah. What do you guys think? What do you guys think is the end of retro gaming in terms of the definition
what
of
constitutes retro? And it's a moving target, but 2008 wasn't that long ago. Wait, yeah, exactly. It was
15 years ago, my friends. 15 years.
So long. It's so long. There's so many games. So many games I still haven't gotten to play. The backlog just keeps growing.
I don't even want to think about the backlog at this point.
I mean, I'm at a point where my backlog is not even a backlog. It's just a library of like 2,000 games that I can pick whatever I want from. I'm never going to play them all.
Retro is older than 2000.
Okay, what came out in 2000?
So that's 23 years. Anything
PlayStation 2 was released in 2000. That's not a bad line to draw. It's around the time of Xbox and the first Halo. It's weird because like going back and playing those games, some of those games are a little bit tough to play now because they're still like at the tail end of the early days of 3D gaming, where like if you go back and try to play them now, the controls are a bit too like you try to play Shadow of the Colossus now, like the original. I'm like, I don't know how the controls work.
Oh, God.
Amazing game though, and I've not played the remake. I assume that the remake is a bit more modern in its like execution. I really should go back and play it because what a great game.
It's a very short game, but an impressive game. Like that was the ultimate game to go to Blockbuster and rent because it was just like such an impressive game to play. But it wasn't very long, if I remember correctly.
And like the GameCube, so the GameCube feels more retro than we were talking. Like the GameCube feels more retro than the GameCube came out at the same time as the original Xbox. So we were wrong, Jake. The GameCube is retro. The Xbox 360 is not. Everyone agrees with us.
I just agree. I just said okay when you said it was the same generation as 360. I wasn't going to argue with you.
I didn't think it was. Okay, sure. Yeah, no, I just made a mistake there. Well, because it just seems weird because the 64 was not. Yeah, time is weird. Time is weird.
We also have like the outliers, like
everyone
the
in chat is just listing old games right now, and it's just making me feel about 1,000 years old.
My
Baldur's Gate.
My buddy dropped a full gameplay, like including the opening cinematic from the game to starting a game and then launching in and playing through the entire game of Star Fox 64. And I clicked play, and that was a game where you finish a loop and then you start over and you play again. You can do a different loop. So everyone's played that first level time and time and time again. And
I still play that game.
Yeah, it was just so nostalgic.
Like, no joke.
To watch that video, like so good.
Yeah. I love that game. I still occasionally go back and play it. I have it on like an old 3DS. And yeah,
I feel like I spent half my childhood waiting for a proper sequel to that game, and I never really got it.
It never happens.
Yeah, they made Star Fox Island or whatever where you
Star Fox Zero. There was like, it was intending to be more of a true sequel, but yeah, I never played it personally. The 64 was the last Nintendo console I owned.
Wow.
I went basically full PC after that. Forever.
Smart man. Smart man.
Mm-hmm. Speaking of which, let's talk about PCs.
Yeah.
Let's talk about one of the things that makes PCs awesome. Picking from such a glorious bevy of displays, both desktop and laptop. This is a topic I've been wanting to cover on Pulse for a while. Because we've been coming out with mini LED displays on both the laptop and the desktop sides, and OLED has been like, we knew that the ROG OLEDs were coming. They're now here. So if you're going out and buying a monitor today, you want something awesome, high-end HDR experience. What do you get? OLED or mini LED? To start, I think we should go through a few of the products we have on offer here. So we have 2 OLED monitors currently available and 1 on the way. So we've got the PG42UQ, just dropped the link in chat, and the PG48UQ. That is a 42 and a 48-inch OLED. So those are fairly large. That's going to be crazy immersive. Jake has one right there, and he's loving it, right, Jake?
Yeah. I mean, that's it's a big display. 42 inches is not small, but honestly, it fits on my desk just fine. Mouse, keyboard, joysticks, or controller gaming. It's right over here to my left. So
well, yeah, if you want to kick back with a controller in your nice, comfy gaming chair, that's like the perfect monitor for it.
It is.
We also have, we announced at CES, a 27-inch OLED. This one is going to be dope. This is going to be 240 hertz, 27-inch OLED, 1440p. Like, it is like an end-game class monitor, right? So that's on its way. Wow. Of course, my neighbor's mowing his lawn, as always, during
like fighting the wind, blowing the
It must be. On the mini LED side, we have 1 monitor on the desktop. That is the PG32UQX. That is a 32-inch mini LED monitor with local dimming, display HDR 1400, so 1400 nits of peak brightness, 144 hertz, 1,152 independent dimming zones. We'll talk about what all that means in a minute. And we also have a sibling to it, the PG32UQXR, that is coming. That is a DisplayPort. The big thing there is DisplayPort 2.1. But so that's coming soon.
Which is important because, one thing that I learned actually when I bought this display is that DisplayPort 1.4 can only support up to 4K 120 hertz. And this display is 4K 138 hertz. So I actually am using HDMI 2.1 to get the full potential out of the display.
So the PG32UQX is 4K 144 though. You were able to do that. It's just that I believe that it uses display stream compression potentially. I don't remember if it uses it for that exact. I never remember what the limits are. But yes, for 100 if you have HDMI 2.1, then I think it is the slightly more advantageous port to use. But DisplayPort 1.4 still works for the monitors we currently have. But if you're kind of setting yourself up for the future, DisplayPort 2.1 is worth having. So, which of these should you go for? Oh, sorry, I didn't mention laptops. We also have mini LED on our laptops, obviously. So we have the Nebula HDR display, which we've talked about a bunch on this channel. That is available in the current Flow X16, but we just announced a ton of laptops for 2023 that are going to have this.
Yeah,
Yep.
several.
So the Strix Scar 16, the Flow X16, the Zephyrus M16, and the Zephyrus G14. So the Scar, the Flow, and the Zephyrus M16 are all going to be 16-inch displays. Those have like over 1,000 dimming zones. I did not write down the number. The G14 is a little bit different. Instead of 1,000 nits, it's 600 nits. And it has fewer dimming zones, but again, it's a smaller display, so that's not really a big deal. I've kind of heard people say like, "Oh, only HDR 600." One thing you got to remember is that those VESA display standards for HDR are not like binary. It's not like, oh, this is HDR 600 and this is 1,000, and so this is like this only adheres to whatever the minimum HDR 600 specs are. No, it's a spectrum, and the G14 is actually going to be on the higher end of that display HDR 600 spectrum. Because it's using a mini LED display with like over 500 zones, whereas display HDR 600 only calls for a minimum of like a few zones, and it can be edge lit, like totally different experience. That G14 display is going to be incredible. Yeah, just seeing the HDR spec doesn't tell the whole story, as Spurious ECG puts it. So all of these are awesome, but which one should you pick? You have used both the PG-32 and the PG-42, Jake. Which is your personal favorite?
So admittedly, I haven't used the PG-42 a lot with mouse yet, where that's something that I really like.
Just picture quality.
Yeah, picture quality. I actually think I like the mini LED more, which is
really,
which is actually surprising. It just popped a little bit more in the more vibrant games, and I do play a lot of vibrant games. The darker games, like I've been playing Jedi Fallen Order, there's some cave scenes where it's really dark.
A lot of cave scenes.
And those look insane on the OLED. So I don't think there's one that I take over the other. It just depends on the type of game I'm playing, really. They both feel incredible to game with, right? High refresh rate, really fast, low latency. Like, they're just, really responsive. But visually, it depends on the kind of game you're playing, I feel.
Ggood003 says, I hate how enabling HDR makes screen snips. Sorry, I thought you were talking about the screen. Windows has improved some of its HDR implementation. I'm actually in a position where I can leave my display in HDR all the time, and it looks perfect. Like, it doesn't look washed out or anything like it kind of used to. Some of the gamma stuff was a little bit weird. So yeah, HDR has come a long way in Windows, and now is really the time for these displays to shine. So let's talk about the two big things that these types of displays bring to the table. Brightness and contrast, and they are kind of interrelated. Brightness is obviously how bright the display can get, or how bright in HDR certain portions of the display can get. And contrast is the difference between the darkest black that the display can produce and that bright white. So if you think about it, it's kind of like brightness is how bright it can get. Contrast is how dark it can get when compared with that brightness. OLED has better contrast, especially at a per pixel level, because each of those individual pixels can turn all the way off. And so you can have one pixel that is crazy bright right next to another pixel that is straight up black. And that creates an image that pops in a way that is very hard to replicate with any other kind of display. That is what makes OLED widely considered the best looking display that you can find today. And trust me when I say you have to see it to believe it. I told a story last week about how I used to review TVs, and I brought in a ton of TVs all the time, and my wife was always like, all these TVs look the same. I can't tell the difference. Until she saw an OLED, and she was like, whoa, that looks incredible. That's how good an OLED, anyone can immediately see the difference that an OLED makes. However, mini LED, while it can't control the brightness per pixel, it uses very, very small LEDs in an array that, like I said, we're talking 500 to 1,000 or more individual dimming zones. So you can still have certain parts of the screen that are true black and certain parts of the screen that are very bright. That's still going to create a very punchy image. However, because it's not per pixel, sometimes around bright objects, you won't get as much contrast next to them because that mini LED is still shining through the screen. And that creates a phenomenon that we call blooming or haloing. Now, our engineers have done an amazing job of making sure that this is like not a distraction at all. I'm using one of our, not mini LED, but our LED full array monitors, and I notice no blooming in game. I have used the Nebula HDR displays in the laptops, and I have not noticed any blooming. The mini LEDs, the tiny mini LED zones, are so much different than the large, like, you know, this TV behind me, for example, has like 20 some zones. You really notice blooming when something only has like 21 zones. When you're talking 1,000 some zones, it's pretty negligible. And the advantage of mini LED is that it can get brighter than a lot of OLEDs can.
Right.
We just said that our PG32 UQX, that can get up to 1,400 nits of brightness, which OLEDs are creeping up on that, but they haven't quite made it that high yet.
No.
And here's the advantage. A lot of people hear that and they go like, how would I want 1,400 nits in my eyes? That sounds like super searingly bright. And if you were lighting up the whole display at 1,400 nits, it would be super searingly bright. But that's not what HDR is about. HDR is about having 1,400 nits of brightness in highlights. And it's not just that those highlights are bright, even though it does really make those highlights pop off the screen. But that extra brightness affords the game developers or the video editors more detail in the image, because the brighter you can make something, the more like detail you can add in that highlight. So it's not just a white splotch, it's a white splotch with like gradients throughout it. And that is really, really cool. And there are some great examples of this on YouTube from like Lord of the Rings, for example, when Arwen first comes to save Frodo, and it's like this blinding white light, and you can kind of see her silhouette in it. If your display's not bright enough, you won't be able to see that silhouette. It'll still be bright, it'll still be punchy, but you won't get all of the detail out of that image. So contrast adds pop, and brightness adds detail is kind of like how I like to say it. And the other advantage too is that that higher HDI brightness, kind of like you were saying, allows for some higher color volume in certain areas, which can create a really punchy image as well. Again, OLEDs are getting really good at that too, though. So it's the gap is narrowing.
Yeah,
but you kind of got to choose, like you were saying, dark games. OLED is pretty killer. Really bright games, I like mini LED, but they both excel at both.
Yeah. Now, it's great. I mean, and they're both great for competitive gaming. They're both great for casual gaming. When it comes to just the responsiveness, they feel unmatched, really.
Yeah. So let's talk about response time in particular. You brought up responsiveness. OLED has, let's actually start. Mini LED has a fast response time. Our mini LED, the PG32 UQX, is an IPS display. Pretty fast response time. You're not going to get like a super ton of like motion blur or anything like that, like you would on.
Never notice it. Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. But OLED's response time is in another league. Okay, when we talk about response time for like IPS displays, we're talking about like 1 millisecond, 3 milliseconds, like a few milliseconds, right? And that's very fast, even for a high refresh rate experience. OLED, we're talking about fractions of a millisecond, like a tenth of a millisecond or like a third of a millisecond, okay? That is so crazy fast. It's basically instantaneous, right? The pixels can shift right away and you get no motion blur whatsoever, especially when you're playing at high frame rates. The image is so clear, it's truly remarkable. That said, this is like getting a little bit into the weeds, but it's like a thing of mine. When you're watching low frame rate content like movies, some people don't notice this, but some people do. The response time on OLED is so fast that it can sometimes almost like make the frame rate can look like it's stuttering a little bit. And so I actually like mini LED for low frame rate content like movies, because the motion's a little bit smoother. But most people don't notice that. Most people still prefer OLED. Again, OLED is pretty widely considered to be the best display you can buy, but there are reasons that I like mini LED personally, and there's still very much room for both in the current ecosystem, and you really gotta decide which one you want to go with, because it's not so cut and dry. If someone just tells you like OLED's better, get OLED, or like mini LED is better, get mini LED, it's not that simple.
It also depends on what kind of content you watch, right? Like I feel like a mini LED is going to look a lot better if you're mostly watching sports. You're watching football. That kind of
for sure. Or if you play with the lights on. I mean, like, again, both of these are going to excel in a dark room, but the OLED's going to maybe excel a little bit more in a dark room than a mini LED would. And again, like if you're watching in a bright room or you're gaming in a bright room, that mini LED display is going to get brighter. So you can overcome the brightness and the glare of your room a little bit better. There's also the matter of size. When you're talking about our specific displays, we currently have OLEDs in 42, 48 inches, and soon to be 27. But our mini LED is 32 inch. So if it's 32 inches, the right size for you, mini LED is the way to go, right? Like I almost would pick a display based on size more than one of these technologies at this point because they're starting to get so close. But again, that 42-inch display is pretty gorgeous too. It really it almost depends more on like how you sit at your desk.
Yeah, the 42
I sit a little bit too close for the 42.
It's not for every setup, that's for sure, right? 48-inch definitely isn't for every setup because that's at that point more of a TV than a primary monitor for a lot of people. So there's pros and cons though, and every use case is different, right?
And it goes the other way too. If you're a competitive gamer, you're going to want that 27-inch OLED, baby.
Yeah, definitely.
Like 32 inches might be a little bit big for a competitive player. And then that OLED with the fast response time and the 240 hertz for a competitive gamer, killer. Absolutely.
I want to reiterate, if you're an aspiring competitive gamer, don't buy a 32-inch panel. 27 or smaller. That's it. Like most competitive gamers want 24-inch, really.
Yeah, that's why our 360 hertz displays and our 240 hertz displays are usually 27 inches and smaller.
Yeah.
I think the extra few inches are nice if you play both competitive and like more immersive single player games. That 27 inches is a really
27 inches is the sweet spot. Yeah.
There's like little smaller stuff too. Like on the PG32 UQX, we have G-Sync Ultimate, which is nice. It has that dedicated G-Sync chip. The PG42, the OLEDs are G-Sync compatible. We talked a little bit about this in our Q&A last week. Like that's not a huge difference, but it is something. If you really want that dedicated G-Sync chip, you can get it in the mini LED display. So there are a lot of different little things to consider, but ultimately both of these display technologies are next level good.
Yeah.
Just eons beyond even stuff from a couple years ago. Like it's a huge jump in image quality. You really can't go too wrong with either because either will blow you away.
A question from YouTube chat. Why no OLED gaming laptops this year? I don't think we have a direct answer for that here, unfortunately, but I just think we created the Nebula HDR last year. People love it, and we've just kind of worked to expand on that and perfect it. I'm not saying
I think it's something we'd maybe like to do for the future.
Yeah.
Keep an eye out. We do have OLED displays on our ZenBook line, and I possibly VivoBooks. I forget. I'm not as well versed on that side of the stuff. I'm sorry. But yeah, I know that we've really been pushing OLED hard on that side, and they look amazing. Like they're so nice. My sister has a ZenBook OLED, and it's gorgeous. So it's not like we're against putting OLEDs in laptops. It's just a matter of like, sometimes you got to work with display manufacturers to get one that suits your needs, right? With enough refresh rate and all of that stuff. There's a lot that goes into making this stuff. So we don't currently have any, but I do think that if you're looking for something in that realm, you will not be disappointed by the Nebula HDR display on the Scar 16 and the M16 and the Flow X16 and the Zephyrus G14. Those are going to look incredible. We talked about this. We saw it when we were in. I have it in my house now, but when we were in Taiwan, I hadn't seen it yet, and so I took it into a very dark room to try and find a flaw in it. Because I'm a former monitor reviewer, and that's what I'm used to doing. And I couldn't find blooming. I tried hard, and it looked perfect.
It's the first time I've ever turned on a laptop and been like, oh my god, that display. It's like with the Nebula HDR. Like it's incredible. Yeah.
I have the monitor I have on my desk here is again not mini LED. It's kind of like the precursor to a mini LED monitors. Only 512 zones, and it still looks incredible. I never noticed blooming in games. The brightness is amazing. The detail is amazing. The colors pop like nobody's business. HDR gaming on this thing is incredible. And it's a last gen monitor. So this gen is like, take it a few more steps. And there we go.
So he has a follow-up question saying, do mini LED laptops have glossy or matte screens?
That's a good question. So the Flow X16 that we have right now is going to be a glossy screen because that's a touch screen. So the Flow laptops are glossy. I don't know about the Scar and the Zephyrus for next year, but I think those are going to be matte. But do not quote me. That's what I believe to be the case. But the Flow devices are always going to be glossy because those are touch screens. They use that Gorilla Glass DXC, and they need to be more resistant to scratches and fingerprints and stuff like that because you're supposed to touch them, right? You're not supposed to touch the other displays.
Right.
So yeah, those are going to be. So you can choose. Ideally, if those are matte, you can choose between glossy and matte as you go through that. I know a lot of people have really strong opinions on glossy versus matte displays. And I know a lot of OLEDs tend to be on the glossier side. So that could be part of this discussion as well, if you're a person who has a strong opinion on that. I personally am not. But again, like if you're playing games in a brighter room, a glossy screen might throw off a little bit more glare. But a glossy screen actually looks really good too. It really helps those colors pop. So there's pros and cons to everything.
That's why there's options.
Yep, that's why there's options. And you can't go too wrong. Sorry, I'm trying to catch up on some questions in chat here. How many bit color are these displays? That's not a question I'm sure I have the answer to. The PG32 UQX and the PG42 UQ we might have. If we look at the tech specs here. Nice, well-played shirt. Jake, your shirt is the star of the show today.
I knew it would be a good shirt to wear on stream.
So yeah, the PG32 UQX, the mini LED display, that is 10-bit. I'm checking the OLEDs right now. I believe those are as well. 10-bit versus 8-bit is basically how many colors the display can. Yeah, that's 10-bit as well. How many colors the display is capable of showing. And HDR content especially, this is nice because you'll get less banding and gradients and stuff like that. Some displays, I don't see anything about it on these displays. Some displays are 10-bit, but they're 8-bit with FRC. Believe it's FRC, which kind of uses an alternating colors thing to kind of eliminate banding, even though the display is not displaying the full 10-bit signal. It basically serves the same purpose. It is not the most important HDR spec. I think people overblow 8 versus 10-bit a little bit. It's not the make or break spec, like brightness and contrast and refresh rate. It's at the bottom of the list of things that that I really, really care about. If a display had everything I needed, but it was 8-bit with FRC, that'd be fine. But yes, these displays are 10-bit. Similar color space coverage too on both of these displays. 98% coverage of the DCI-P3 color space. You're going to get that really wide color gamut that HDR can make use of. Yeah, but they're both going to be incredible, and you cannot go too wrong. I wish TV, as in monitors, came with that calibration thing to make colors look like real colors or whatever it does. You mean a colorimeter? So a lot of our high-end displays are actually factory calibrated, and should come out of the box.
You even get a packet saying that.
Yeah, you get a little sheet.
Yeah.
So when you're buying a more mid-range gaming monitor, a colorimeter can be nice if you care about accuracy. Generally, though, ours are pretty accurate out of the box. They're decent, and it depends on the mode you pick too, right? So we have different modes on the monitors for racing versus MOBA versus FPS, and the FPS most gamers care more about being able to see people in the shadows by lifting the blacks than they do about color accuracy. And so you can kind of choose whether you want the competitive advantage or a slightly more color accurate mode. And frankly, on a lot of displays, that's just going to be the sRGB mode, unless you're playing in HDR. And so for these HDR monitors, you should have, I believe that these are factory calibrated, and you'll probably get one of those little sheets. Jake, you would know, you had the monitors.
Yep, and they're going both the PG32 UQX and the PG42.
They're going to be pretty color accurate out of the box, so I wouldn't worry about that too much with a display of this caliber. Remember, we're talking about some of the best displays you can buy right now. How is the auto HDR on Windows 11? It's pretty cool. Auto HDR, for those who don't know, takes games that do not have an HDR feature. And if you flip HDR on in the Windows settings and you flip on auto HDR, if you fire up an SDR game, it'll actually boost the brightness of certain highlights to make it basically appear HDR. It has that HDR pop. Yeah, and it honestly works pretty well. It's not something that has always historically worked well on TVs with movies. Sometimes it'll blow out, or highlights will look blown out because SDR doesn't have that there's just no data there in the SDR signal. With games, you have a little bit more leeway, and Microsoft has done a really good job of making it look good without like really blowing out highlights. And I think it only works with games that they've kind of like tested it with and deemed like it to work well with, which is another advantage of that. So you're not necessarily going to turn it on and have it just like look like garbage. Microsoft has been doing HDR, kind of improving it slowly, but really going in the right direction. On Windows 11 in particular, now you have an HDR calibration app that you can download from Microsoft that'll help you find the ideal HDR settings for all of your games and stuff like that, which is cool.
There's a question, what does the G-Sync chip do in monitors?
So we talked a little bit about this last week. I would direct you to our Q&A episode from last week to go hear more about it. The G-Sync chip, when it first came out, it had a lot of advantages over the FreeSync, or what we now call G-Sync compatible adaptive sync in a display. That adaptive sync has gotten better and better over time. So again, the gap has like narrowed a little bit. My understanding is that the biggest advantage of the G-Sync chip at this point in time is that when you get to let's say your game dips down really far and you're like in a certain scene, it's so heavy that you're playing at like 30 frames per second. A lot of the regular adaptive sync monitors will use what's called low frame rate compensation in that scenario, because their FreeSync range is maybe only like 48 hertz to 144. And so if your game goes below that 48 hertz, FreeSync is no longer active. But a lot of them will use low frame rate compensation to basically show each frame twice. So you're playing a 30 frames per second game at 60 hertz to get FreeSync like working in that range. It's using like some of these little tricks. G-Sync, because it's communicating directly with your card, like that whole thing is just a little bit more stable and reliable. Like when you go into low frame rates, or I think you have fewer games that like have like, you know, flickering in the menus or things like that. Again, I don't know if that's as big of an issue as it was when like these adaptive sync monitors first came out. But it's just one of those things where like when you have a G-Sync chip, you know you're getting the best adaptive sync experience with your NVIDIA card. It's something that, and that NVIDIA has done more testing and validating on that monitor because they helped build it basically, than with other monitors. So I've used G-Sync compatible displays for years and they have all worked great. I now have a display with a G-Sync chip. It also works great. I think, like I said last week, it's not something that would be make or break for me. Find the displays that's right for you, and as long as it works with the graphics card you have, and their like reviews don't bring up any issues with it, you're golden. I haven't had any issues with any of our displays in terms of adaptive sync or G-Sync or FreeSync. They all just work.
Great. Just jumping into a few other questions. Will we make more ultra-wide monitors? I mean, the answer to that is always maybe, but if we haven't announced anything, then we have nothing that we know or can say. So
yeah, I feel like ultra-wides are not as popular as they once were. Like I feel like they've like come out of fashion, even though I'm a huge fan.
Yeah, you and Lane both love them. I've never used one.
We have the same monitor.
It's funny.
Yeah, so if you can go find a PG35 VQ still out there, that's our ultra-wide HDR monitor with full array local dimming.
I will say
we have some tough monitors that are ultra-wide as well.
I this weekend I told you I started dabbling with game design. I started dabbling with playing with Unity, and I was like, this is when I'd want an ultra-wide monitor. When I've got all these tools, all these different components, that's like the first time where I was like, man, I could really use an ultra-wide right now. But as a streamer, it's never been appealing.
Yeah, if you're streaming, it kind of doesn't work really well because you either have to play your games in 16:9 or you have to crop stuff out.
Mm-hmm.
My thing with ultrawides, it's not even that I prefer gaming on an ultrawide. I would prefer gaming on a 32-inch display like the PG32 UQX. But because this is also my work machine, the ultrawide is really nice because I can line up a bunch of windows when I'm working,
right?
And use it that way. If it were a pure gaming machine, I actually think 32 inches or 42 inches like on the OLED is more immersive than an ultrawide. Because even though you lose some of this in your periphery, you gain this and it just feels so much more like imposing the image. And so to me, I prefer 16:9 for pure gaming, or 16:10 like in our laptops. Love that our laptops are moving to 16:10.
Yeah. I actually don't know enough about controllers and what the norm is. Someone asks if the Raikiri has membrane or mechanical buttons. And
that is a great question that I don't know the answer to because I didn't open it up. They probably would have gotten mad at me if I opened it up.
Yeah. I mean, I'm holding it right now. And
I would
I'd say
guess
it feels
membrane.
like
I think membrane is most common.
It's not like as clicky as like I'd expect a mechanical to feel, right? It doesn't have that same
if it were
like
mechanical,
tactile.
I think that would have been
Right. So
much more. In the marketing materials would have made a much bigger deal of that because it's more unique. I guess I've never used a controller with mechanical.
I don't think I have
buttons.
either. That's why I was
I don't know
like,
if I would like that or not.
I'm intrigued by the idea, but this has got to be membrane.
Yeah.
We'll be gaming with that
to membrane
next week, next Tuesday. So look forward to that.
Yeah. All right. Let's see. Too bad. Yeah, there aren't more 16:10 monitors on desktop, but that's okay. Just because you could just go bigger. On a laptop, you're really constrained for space, so that extra that allows the screen to be bigger than it otherwise would in the same chassis. On the desktop, I used to have 16:10 monitors, but now I'm like, now that 32-inch monitors are more affordable, it's like, yeah, just go 32-inch.
Yeah, I bought this.
Or just put your monitor in portrait mode. It's fine. Go 9:16 if you want it to be tall.
I mean, I'm using a portrait display right here, so.
I mean, yeah, me too. It's not. I don't game on it, but yeah.
Cool. Well, we answered a bunch of questions.
I think that's all the questions. Yeah, guys, if you are looking for a monitor to play games on that it's just going to make them look next level good, look at the OLED monitors we talked about today. Look at the mini LED monitors and laptops we talked about today. You can't go too wrong with either, but those are the differences. Once you go mini LED or OLED, it's really hard to go back.
I'm never giving up the PG42UQ. This is mine forever. It's not leaving. It's
just if they try to take it back, Jake will just be like, "Bill me."
Yeah, seriously.
He's gonna stick his name on it on a piece of tape.
Yep. The box. I'm throwing the box away. Can't send it back if I don't have the box.
Yeah,
bill me.
It's true.
Bill me.
The Asus repo man is going to come to your house and steal it from you. Just take it away.
We are about to do a giveaway. We do giveaways through Twitch. So if you're watching on YouTube, head over to twitch.tv/AsusROG. I can drop a link in chat for you guys because we use marbles on stream to select our winners, which is integrated with Twitch. We do not have any release dates that we can give out because they honestly probably aren't decided yet for a lot of things, as the market is still chaotic when it comes to getting everything produced, right? I just feel like the industry is everything. The whole world has been chaos.
A little bit. Things are a little bit better on the computer side, at least.
You don't.
Chicken13322 says, "When is the best time to throw away the old boxes?" If you're not Jake or Whitson.
God, I think the best. I have to keep all the boxes. Yeah,
because we have to keep all the boxes for everything that the company sends us. We get, but like I bought this monitor here. I bought this myself, so I was able to throw the boxes currently in my garbage. I would say that the best time to throw away the boxes is when the warranty period is up.
That's a good way to look at it.
Because you want that first 30 days to make sure that everything is working properly. Obviously, we do our best to make sure that everything works properly right out of the factory, but things do happen. You never know if something, got damaged shipping or whatever. You want that 30 days to make sure everything is working properly. Once the warranty period is up, or not the warranty period, the return period. The return period from the retailer, that first 30 days. I wouldn't keep the box for the whole year. At that point, like if something is wrong, like 8 months into the thing's life, like we'll find another way to get the monitor to the right place. But I would keep it for the return period in case you want to return it to the retailer. Once that's up, you can start throwing away. If you have the space, sure. I mean, there was a period of time where I kept like every box for everything.
I've got a bunch of this year's models laptops and last year's models laptops. So the number of boxes I have, my wife is not happy. There are so many.
Same. I have a shelf in my garage that's just labeled Whitson, and no one's allowed to put anything on it because that's where all of my boxes go.
Yeah, I need another one of those shelves.
It was really sad when we were redoing this house. We were living with my in-laws, and I was working from home in like the baby's room, and I felt so bad because I was reviewing monitors at the time, and so companies kept sending me monitors, and I just had to stack up they didn't have a room in their garage, so I just had to stack up the boxes in like the guest room, And I'm sure it drove my mother-in-law crazy to just have like and the companies kept sending me super ultra wides, like those 32 by 9 monitors. And I'm like, oh my gosh, like you've chosen this time to send me the biggest monitor you possibly can. Yeah, we recently announced one at CES. They are really cool. Again, like I would rather have more height than width, but what's really cool about our new ultra wide is that it has like a built-in KVM, our smart KVM. So it's kind of designed to be dual monitors in one. So not only do you get the crazy immersive gaming experience, but you can hook up one computer that shows on one half of the monitor and another computer that shows on the other half of the monitor, and use one mouse and keyboard to control them both. So it is a really, really interesting. This is the XG49WCR. I'm pasting this link in chat so you guys can see it. It is, if you have to use 2 computers for work, or if you're doing like development or something like that, it is really, really, really cool. Very unique kind of display.
Yeah, I mean, for a streamer,
5120 by 1440 resolution, 49 inches.
Wow, that's cool. That's really cool.
It's really cool. And then when you're done working, you can just throw a game on the whole thing, and it just surrounds like your entire peripheral vision. Really sweet monitor. I'm looking forward to that coming out.
We're going to go ahead and start the giveaway. We are over 100 marbles coming in that's a lot for Pulse. I feel like we don't usually get 100 marbles in our races. So we're giving away a $20 voucher.
Twitch says there's only 85 people watching.
Some
of you are bots.
We're gonna find you and we're gonna hunt you down. Actually, there's a Twitch account. I'm gonna give him a shout out called Hunting Multis, and he hunts multi-accounters. And he just sent me a big report, and I'm going through it. Like he provides like evidence, and like it's really cool.
My gosh,
it's really cool.
I'm just a guy. He's not a bot himself. Like,
dude, yeah, it's like detailed stuff too. So that's
doing the Lord's work, man.
Yeah, there's a few members that
we need
that do the research and send me messages, and I appreciate that, because it's we want to slay the bots. We want to slay the multi-accounters.
Yes,
you're not welcome here, multi-accounters.
If we can tell that you're multi-accounting, you won't get your prize. So,
yep. Okay.
Is he lying to get rid of the competition? Oh.
The ultimate
That's some 4D chess right there.
Okay. I didn't say last place, did I? I don't remember if I said anything. We're just going to do first place wins. You know what? We'll do first and last. How's that? It's
Why
easier.
not? First and last. Oh. Yeah, dude, I've been having so much fun playing Halo Infinite. I'm playing the Halo Infinite campaign co-op with a buddy of mine, and the HDR in that game on this monitor is crazy. It's a good looking game.
Yeah.
The HDR just adds just that pop and detail is real nice. I don't know how far we are in it. I think we're like a third of the way through. But now that I have this monitor, I'm like, all right, I'm on a mission to find all the best HDR games.
Elden Ring looks great.
Elden Ring in HDR is phenomenal.
Yeah, that's definitely one I'd recommend.
That's a good OLED game.
Oh my god,
because there's so much darkness, but then those fires just pop out at you like crazy.
Okay, this is a weird map. It's a lot of just single lane driving.
Yes, Jub, I have played Metal Hellsinger, and it is awesome. I've not finished it, but I've played a decent amount of it. I love it. That would be a fun game to try auto HDR in, because I don't think that has HDR built in. Maybe it does. I don't remember.
Pile up.
It doesn't say whether it has HDR. Yeah, I don't remember. I should try it in auto HDR now that I have this monitor.
Who's gonna win? We got first and last place getting prizes with Jericho 78 and M. You're gonna have to type in chat to claim your win. Jericho, congrats. Now we're just waiting to see who's gonna get last, which is currently Kills. But not necessarily gonna be the last place marble.
The Witcher 3 and Cyberpunk 27 are the first I'll try in HDR, says Spurious ECG. Yeah, Cyberpunk's HDR is pretty cool. I have not tried The Witcher's HDR yet. I really like Forza Horizon in HDR. That's a fun one. I just love Forza Horizon though.
Okay, looks like it was good. 003. So we got Jericho confirming. Congrats, Jericho. And then last place would be GG OOD 003. Congratulations, guys.
GG OOD. It's G good 003.
I know, but I wanted to pronounce it funnily. Okay. Congratulations,
Jake can't read. You gotta make simpler usernames.
I'm always going to read GG as GG, and then everything else is separate, right? Okay? It's the gamer in me. I just can't break it.
Yeah.
Congrats, guys. We are going to send you a Whisper next week containing a $20 voucher to Games Planet. It's basically $20 wallet credit towards whatever game you want to apply. You add it to your account. You have $20 to spend whenever, right? And that's just a great thing. Games Planet has the sale going on right now. We mentioned earlier, gamesplanet.com will give you access to discounts. You link your ROG account, you get even more discounts towards games. And we're talking about day one games saving like, $7 sometimes. It's usually like $53, $54 for a $60 game.
I saved like $7 on Elden Ring the day it came out. Yeah, that game still hasn't gone on sale.
Hogwarts Legacy is on sale right now for like $53, right? It's not even out yet and it's already on sale there. So you can save some good money there. And then obviously if you're winning vouchers here, you just put that towards the next game you want to play. Sweet. Not every game in the world is there, but a lot of games are.
They have a lot of stuff. I've bought most of my recent games on Games Planet because it was the best price that I could find.
Yeah, and we also do game key giveaway. So I'm sad that Dead Space isn't there because I want to give away copies of Dead Space, but we're probably going to stream it anyways next week.
Yeah, we'll see what happens. We're gonna try to work with some publishers and devs too to see if we can get game keys for certain games this year as well. We're working on stuff, guys. We got a lot of stuff in the works for this year on the stream. So if you are not following us, follow us. If you're not in our Discord, join our Discord. ! Discord and chat. There you go. Come join our Discord. We do cool stuff. We hang out, talk about computers all day long, every day.
Show us your setup.
Every day.
Post pictures of your laptop or your battle station or whatever.
Got a whole battle station channel that honestly I said today was not getting enough laptop love. A lot of people posting their desktops, but I know there are a lot of people in this Discord with laptops, and I want to see their setup. I want to see their RGB in all its glory.
Well, guys, it's been a fun show. Whitson dropping the knowledge on the Mini LED versus the OLED.
Don't get me started talking about displays.
Yeah, you can't shut them up. But there's knowledge to be gained there. It's lovely. Yeah, but tomorrow will be the finale of our Jedi Fallen Order streams. We are at the last chapter of the game, so starting at 3 Eastern. I'll be firing up that game on the PG42 UQ OLED. If you want to see what that display is all about, doing some OLED gaming, or finishing up Jedi Fallen Order, because, I mean, Jedi Survivor is going to be here in like 8 weeks or something. It's close.
I'm pumped.
Yeah.
I'm pumped.
Good games be on the horizon. Till next time, everyone. GG's and take care.